It's August, and while summer may be ending, back to school is just around the corner. That means it's time to start packing lunches again with healthy options like dairy. Whether yogurt, cheese sticks, or grilled cheese, there's many ways to include dairy for those back-to-school lunches and ensure that kids get protein, vitamin D, and calcium. And that's in addition to breakfast with some milk, either by the glass or in a bowl of cereal. For more ways to include dairy as part of your back-to-school routine, visit floridamilk.com or lechedeflorida.com and get more info as well as recipes. Trust me, including dairy in their lunches is way easier than trying to remember how to solve word problems. This is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is
Season 6 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Giovanni Fesser and Giovanni Fesser are two different people.
It is. They are two different people, but they are someone that probably most of our listeners know, just not by that name. It is the real name of Pastelito Papi. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Or I said earlier, P squared.
P squared, yes.
P squared.
P squared. We're gonna rebrand you. P squared is for when you branch out of Miami-Dade.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, because they don't know what Pastelito is, but they know P squared.
Right.
I don't think I can get away with Pastelito Papi in any other state.
I think you could get away with it in maybe New York, Chicago, LA. You know,
Bigger cities.
Yeah, with a lot of Latinos. But anyway, thank you for joining us, man. Like,
man.
honestly, it's as you know, entrepreneurs ourselves in the food business. I have to say, we look towards you as somebody who's definitely put in the hours and is just fucking making it happen. You know, I mean,
Thank you.
many is a pop up that we've been at that we look over and we're like, we wish we weren't working so we could eat all of his products.
We want to be you in 2 years or
Yes.
something.
Oh, man.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, let's start at the beginning, right? Like, okay, so how did Pastelito Papi, you know, come to be? Because as we just established, it's not on your birth certificate. So
Pastelito Papi started as I've been a executive sous chef at Ariete since the beginning. We're now going on 7 years.
delicious place, man.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Great burger.
That's right. So yeah, 3 years into working there, I started just, I'm sorry. So we did a food and wine event with Chef Mike, and we had to do a pastelito. Chef Mike wanted to do a pastelito. So it was a head cheese pastelito, which is like the head of the pig. And just from that event,
I've never been a head cheese person.
me neither.
That's not a thing I want to try. No, thank you. My grandmother loves it. I'm not a fan.
Well, we used to have head cheese croquetas on the menu for brunch.
Ooh, no.
No.
That's that thing that's cheese, but it's not cheese.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we did it. We went for food and wine, and a couple of weeks after, I was just, pastelito stayed in my mind. I kept thinking about Miami. I always wanted to do something, but I kept on thinking about Miami and the direction that the food's going with the croquetas and the cookies, and just like what you guys are doing with the wings. And pastelito struck my mind. I pictured myself as a kid going to the bakery with my grandparents, and even growing up as a kid and always eating the same ones. And I'm like, damn, bro, why don't they do any different ones? And I just started thinking of ideas in my head. And before I started getting ahead of myself, I did research online, found a couple of bakeries that were doing some things different. Following day, I went to go try those things, and they were really good. But I wanted to apply the seasonal aspect. I mean, of being a chef, working in kitchens for the past 20 years, just add a seasonality to it. Like, why don't we have fresh mangoes inside pastelitos and mamey and real guava? We can get to it because guava. Let's talk about guava pastelitos.
Our favorite topic.
Yeah.
I mean, I was thinking about going into this idea without doing pastelitos made out of guava, only because I couldn't get it locally. And
wait, you couldn't get guava in Miami?
I mean, we could
the fruit itself.
The fruit.
That seems counterintuitive to everything I've ever thought in life.
I've heard horror stories about making guava jam. It's a real pain in the ass, and to go through all that labor to sell a pastelito for $4, it's a lot of work. Will people get it? I think it would take time to educate people and let them know like the quality of what's going inside of a pastelito, because you know, we've been eating dollar pastelitos for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they're not $1 either.
Yeah.
Pastelitos, ojalá I could find one that was for $1 still. Shit.
Well, yeah. So fast forward to the event, and then just thinking about doing different pastelitos and adding a chef aspect to everything. Damn, I'm having a brain fart here. I've told the story so many times, like I just don't want to.
It's because
go by saying the same thing.
You're just thinking of the deliciousness of the guayaba. That's what threw you off track.
So you wanted to do like seasonal things, which makes total sense.
Yes. Wanted to do seasonal things and just step out of that traditional pastelito and do things a little more Americanized, like Cuba Meets America, which peanut butter and jelly pastelito was one of the first ones that we ever done. Frita pastelito was the second one. And they're still on the menu from here on out.
You just mentioned the two that I love. So
yeah.
So thank you again, sir,
well,
for that.
I mean, that one of the reasons why we wanted to know like really where it started, because something that we've found through speaking with a lot of people that have been entrepreneurs in the food business here in Miami, like for example, Danny and Rosa from Sandwich and even Dos Croquetas. On paper, it doesn't sound like a great idea because it's like you're opening up a Cuban sandwich shop in Miami where you could get a Cuban sandwich in every corner. You're opening up a croqueta shop in Miami where they have croquetas even at Publix. And the same thing goes with pastelito. So, I mean, you can get a pastelito anywhere. But yet you had your own angle, your own idea. So what was it that made you say, you know what, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to go out. I mean, I know I can make a pastelito, but I'm going to actually like put the pedal to the metal and make this happen in terms of a business?
Just when we started doing them for brunch at Ariete, that's how we slowly trickled them into the menu. Just making different things and having our employees, like our waiters and even the other cooks, try it and then giving me encouragement, like, yo, this is fire, bro. You got to keep doing this. Like, we love it. Keep doing it. I mean, that was like my motivation in the beginning. And then just when it got into a little more crazier phase of making more pastelitos and kind of like selling them to the public and interacting with your customers, that's where you get the inspiration, because they're like, oh my God, my grandmother tried it. Like a frita pastelito, like, oh my God, it blew her mind. Or like a fucking PB&J pastelito. Like those are what keeps me going when I'm out in the public. Like, you know, we've done a couple of pop-ups together already. Like just talking to people and just seeing how excited they are, it makes me more excited to continue and keep on pushing the envelope to doing more flavors.
No. Oh, sorry. I was looking. He looked like he was ready to go with a question. So, you know, you mentioned seasonality, and I think that's something that people sometimes, as local Floridians, right, we don't stop to think about seasons because it's summer,
right?
12 months out of the year.
Yes.
11 if we get a cold snap for a week in January. You know, so when it comes to something like seasonality, do you approach it from like, okay, because I know you use fresh ingredients, but is it like what's available here seasonal, or are you thinking more like, I'm going to be very basic white girl right now, like a pumpkin spice pastelito? Right.
I try to focus on what grows here and, you know, use it at its peak of its ripeness. Like mango seasons, I mean, starts in July. But to answer your question of if I use seasons from other states or other stuff like that, yes, I try to do, like, if blueberries are in season somewhere, like I'll try to get blueberries, or you know, anything that tastes good. You know, obviously what's closer to you is going to taste better,
right?
But if I can get it through our purveyors or anything like that, yeah, because it's kind of hard to get like things from other states like seasonal. Like I always want to do a peach cobbler pastelito, and we can't get really good peaches here. Like,
but I know Georgia's right there. Huh? Georgia's right there. What do you mean?
No, I know, but like all the stuff that you get for like commodity stuff, like it's just like it doesn't taste the same. You know what's
interesting?
Man.
Georgia's not the biggest supplier grower of peaches.
No.
I think what they grow the most is almonds. I forgot what state
some
it
nut.
Is,
Yeah.
But it's not Georgia, which you know,
Georgia's like the third, I think.
Yeah, which is sort of disappointing. but like something like that, like a peach cobbler pastelito, as you said. Like obviously a peach that you buy at the supermarket here is not.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
I mean, if you add a bunch of sugar, it's going to taste good, but
we want to avoid the.
Yeah. You want diabetics to be able to eat it. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you mentioned that this all started while you were, at Ariete, and I believe you still work with Ariete. At what point did you say to yourself, it's not enough that I wake up at the ass crack of dawn to make pastelitos for a restaurant. Let me add to my dolor de cabeza and do pop-ups and branch out, because I can tell you, as people who do pop-ups, you gotta want to do it, right?
Yeah.
This is not when I'll show up, I go and I leave and that everything's fine. Like, no. Te tienes que you have to really go for it.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work, and you as yourself, you guys are partners, so you guys can help each other out. Like me, I have random friends that'll come help me out,
So you're a one man show.
I'm a one man show. I mean, I had help for a minute there, like for a good year. I mean, I just lost my help, so I'm looking for somebody out there.
Oh, okay, well, listeners,
anybody who wants to know about pastelitos,
yes,
inquire within.
Yeah, está buscando un part-time,
and we'll connect you.
With P squared, P squared, as we've now rebranded you. But I mean, what is it? You've now been on both sides of the coin, right? Where you've done, with the restaurant and you've done with the pop-ups. I know it's a weird question, but which one do you kind of enjoy more? Because I feel they both have their challenges unique to themselves.
I like the pop-ups mainly because if you're going to a different area, you're introducing yourself to a whole different other neighborhood. Like, I've done a couple of pop-ups here in West Kendall, some in Hialeah. I mean, you never know where you're going to get the most love for what you're doing, Like
Isn't
pastelitos,
that weird?
Yeah. Like pastelitos are very, everybody eats them. So like you do something different in a pastelito is gonna, it's gonna mindfuck somebody. They're gonna be like, oh my God, I gotta try that at least once,
But that's like, you were just saying, you never know what's gonna hit, right? Because again, even for us, there are times where we'll show up, we've got our flavors and we'll show up in one area and we're like, oh, aquí for sure they're going to go crazy for the guayaba y queso wings. And it's like, nope, it's the Korean that they love in this area.
Oh,
like,
wow.
you don't know what to expect.
What's funny about pastelitos? It's that, for us, it's sort of second nature. It's something we grew up in. It's deep within the culture, no matter what nationality you're in. But it's a very South Florida thing. It's something we don't even think about, that it's like, of course, life exists with pastelitos. And it's funny because when I lived for a few years in Michigan, and whenever I went to school up there, and whenever any family or friends would go, one of the things they would take were a box of pastelitos, and by this point they were like a couple of days old, so they weren't like great. And when I would give them to like my friends, my Anglo friends, they're like, "What is this like exotic? Like what is this, guava? Like." Or is this, what type of cheese is in this thing? I'm like, it's a pastelito de queso. Like, it's like,
and you don't even know how to explain it because it's so second nature to us,
Because I think that what happens with pastelitos in specific is that it's so part of the culture that you don't even think about it. Like, when you have a party in Miami, you're gonna have pastelitos. Like,
you just are.
It's like, okay, cheese platter.
Check. Chips, check. Pastelitos, check.
So that's something that, just saying, if you want to build up north, that's something I think that you could,
Oh, man, I would love to, man. I've had some customers that, I haven't figured out the shipping, but they came and bought frozen pastelitos, and they brought the styrofoam thing with the dry ice, and they shipped it to themselves.
Really?
Yeah. Like at least 3 different customers. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's something that definitely has a potential for you because we interviewed a couple of seasons ago, Porto's Bakery in California. We interviewed Betty Porto, and that's one of the things she was telling us, that a lot of people, Latin people that live in different parts of the world, of the country or the world, kept asking for Porto's products, and they did have Porto's at home, which you put it in the oven yourself and you cook it yourself.
We've got some of them. Martha Darby sent us.
Yeah. But it's a concept that, like, I think that there's so many of us out there that they're going to want your pastelitos. So let's go back to, in terms of like the flavors, because I told you last time I saw you, I had that cordon bleu pastelito.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And that was like my life before that and my life after, because actually you too, we love cordon bleu. Like,
I get excited if I go to like un salon, like a banquet hall, and I see that there's cordon bleu with like rice pilaf. I'm happier than I've ever been that day. Like, I'm in.
So something like that, like a cordon bleu, because obviously that's something that I'm going to dare say never was probably put in a pastelito before.
I think you'd be right.
How is, like, what makes you tick in terms of like, I think I'm going to make this flavor?
Sometimes I'm at work and I'm sharing a kitchen with Ariette. So you go into their walk-in, and there's all sorts of shit in there. There could be extra ham. There could be extra Swiss. There could be extra short rib. I'm kind of like the vacuum of the restaurant. Like, if there's a lot of everything left over in there, like for instance, Ariette we make croquetas for Chugs and we make croquetas for the Gibson, which is on Coral Way and 22nd. They have a truffle chicken croqueta.
Ooh.
Very expensive. And one of the prep cooks, it was a new prep cook. He was doing the whole mixture of the croqueta and he messed up and he put bacon in it. And then it was like, bro, maybe like 100 pounds of chicken with bacon. And the chef was like, yo, can you use this? I'm like, yeah. Give it to me. Easier for me. You know, I don't have to go through the mission of making a filling.
Well, no, that's true, yeah.
So we turned those into bacon chicken ranch pastelitos.
Oh my God.
That were amazing. Everyone loved them.
It sounds phenomenal.
People keep asking for them, and I'm just like, oh, I don't know if I want to go through the mission of making
You got to get them to make the same mistake again.
So that was like a limited edition.
It was, definitely a limited edition.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
It's like amazing. A beautiful mistake.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's one of those things. I think that one of the things that you've done is that something, and I don't mean this as kind of derogatory way, but something as basic as a pastelito, right?
Again, basic for us,
it's
especially.
One of the things that it's more than the sum of its parts. I mean, it's been there all this time, but yet you were the one who did sort of like thought outside of the box, and you're like, what about if it's more than just guava, cheese? You know,
especially, I think the savory, for the savory element too, because, there's pastelito de carne, but even that carne pastelito is kind of sweet.
Nobody really likes it.
And nobody really likes it. And most people like un cangrejito.
I like them at the birthday parties. They're not bad.
But most people like, they're okay. But you kind of took it and ran with it, and really, you made them savory. Like, there's no, it's not like, oh yeah, it's wink, wink, chicken, but then like tiene azúcar, in it to kind of make it sweeter or make it more pastelito-like. You really commit to the savory, which I haven't seen anybody do it outside of you, to be honest with you.
Savory is my thing. Like, I love savory stuff. I struggle more with the sweet stuff.
Really?
I always try to like pick on my pastry chef and be like, yo, chef, blah, 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 what should I do with this? Like, or if I have a sweet idea, I'll go run it by her. Or like, I have a couple of friends in the industry, like women that are pastry chefs, and they're awesome. And they always guide me in the right direction. So sweet's more of a struggle. But
is it because of your background? Like, because you as a sous chef, you probably deal more with savory than sweet.
Yes. This was just like I said, the food and wine, making pastelitos that day. That's what, like, I was like, damn, it's not that hard to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The savory part, it just, comes from experience, making pastelitos different. Like, I always try to incorporate Cuban dishes inside pastelitos. And I'm always like, why haven't we had a lechon pastelito? Or why haven't we have, rabo encendido? Like, all the braised Cuban dishes that we love to eat. That, oxtail for me is like, oh, I can eat that all day.
I just love saying that dish because it sounds kind of dirty, but that's just me.
Rabo
encendido. It's like it sounds like something you shouldn't be having.
So now that you're here, I want to ask you like one of the more like age-old controversial questions about pastelitos. Okay. What do you think is the perfect pastelito insofar as I feel you have your group of people who like a soft, warm pastelito, and then you have the ones that like it crunchy with
crusty
with a lot of layers. What do you think is like the right way or the perfect way?
Okay, so people that didn't grow up here eating pastelitos, they tell me like, oh, I like it more flaky. People that live down here and are used to the stuff that we grew up eating, they like it less flaky and they want more filling inside.
That'll be us.
That's us, yeah.
That's us.
Yeah.
So for me, the biggest pastelito that was hit or miss for me growing up was the guayaba and queso, which, sometimes you bite the corners and you're eating dough. And then when you get to the middle, the ratio is always messed up. It's either like more guava, more cream cheese. And I decided to do it after like a lot of trial and tribulation. I'm like, bro, why am I going to go on a mission making these little triangles that they're cute, but they're a mission. So I was like, why can't we make it like a guava pastelito? Like spread the cream cheese dead smack in the middle, spread it, and add the guava right in between. So when you're eating it, like each bite is like, you don't have to eat like 3 guayaba and queso pastelitos to get the satisfaction of one.
Yeah. No, because I feel that that's one of that's sort of like the same thing with Cuban bread. Like the people that love it soft, and the people that like it crunchy. And I'm like, who are you? Like, why do you want it crunchy? Like,
who hurt you as a child?
Like when it's like soft and obviously it has a lot of layers, but it's not like 2 inches of the dough. That's how I like it when it's like soft and not as layered. That's like perfect. It's good.
For me, I always have ADD. Like when I'm serving them, like I want them to be warm. My whole thing is like if you order from me directly, I want them to be warm when you get in the car.
And they are, because that's why you have the I don't know what it's called.
The little pastelito warmers.
The warmers. There you go. I was like, I know it's not an oven, but I couldn't think of another word right now. I'm like, yeah, literally every pastelito I've ever had from you is like warm and just juicy, chewy, gooey. And I mean that in all the best ways possible because that's how I like them. Awesome. I don't like to bite into something and then have to be brushing off the damn pastelito off of everything I've ever worn.
But I feel there is a position to eat pastelito. It's like, you know, your hands,
yes,
like over your chest, and then, you know, there's a position, right?
Yeah.
It's like assume the position to eat pastelito.
A veces people who eat greasy foods have less of a hassle than pastelitos, you know?
Like, you don't eat a pastelito like, you know, leaning back in a chair. Like, you know,
well, you can if you want to get it all over you.
Right, you have to be hunched over with your hand on your chest, you know.
It's un proceso.
Like, it's a thing. It's
all
a
process.
thing that only down here, you know, people understand.
You gotta have pastelito etiquette.
So anyway, if
that's your next T-shirt, by the way, forget the pastelito. That is your T-shirt. Pastelito etiquette.
That's awesome.
So P squared.
P squared.
Tell us, okay, where can we find you to our listeners? You know, to that one listener who hasn't had your stuff. Where can we find you? What's next? Where can we follow you? All that.
We're located 7 days a week at Chuck's Diner in Coconut Grove. If you ever want to do a personal order, you can contact me directly on Instagram.
Ooh.
Pastelito Papi, I. That's the best way to reach out to me.
See, I did not know that. And now I feel like
I mean, I don't promote it as much as I do because I'm like a little behind on help. But once I get up there, I'm going to start doing more pop-ups out of the restaurant at Ariette. Okay. We were doing a farmer's market. It just ended this past last week. We couldn't be there, unfortunately, the last week. We had a big catering. We did a catering for Gloria Stefan.
For Emilio's birthday.
Yeah, Emilio's birthday. That was a lot of work.
The Estefans. We catered the Estefans.
You know, small order.
Yeah. No biggie.
It was awesome.
You buried the lead, man, by the way. You know, it's like, you should brag about that. Like, coño, that means that your product is like, made it, if you will, in a weird way. Like,
I mean, I feel like I'm still not there, you know? I mean, we already been doing this for 5 years. I feel like there's like so much more to go.
Yeah, but that just means that you still got a fire inside of you.
Yeah.
That means that you're not bored yet. That's a good thing.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
You keep innovating.
Yeah, because it's one thing to quote unquote make it, but you can't buy into that. Right? Like, you can look at the reality of it and be like, you know what? Shit, I've achieved a lot. But the minute that you get complacent, like, yeah, the flavors are going to not be as innovative and they're not going to come. So that's a good thing that you still feel that way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, pop-ups.
Pop-ups.
Yes.
We don't really have any pop-ups going on right now. Hopefully we can tap into another farmer's market. I just don't know which one at the moment. We want to tap into the Sunshine Market here in Kendall.
Oh, yeah.
I want to like branch out.
We've been looking
Kendall.
into them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, we've had very good success out in Kendall.
Yeah,
so I recommend Kendall to those who would look for a pop up.
Anything that's closer to home.
You're in the area?
Yes.
Ah, bueno. Okay, cool. Bueno, you heard it here, guys. Any type of pastelito you want. Yes, I'm broadening your menu without asking you, by the way. Like, yes, any pastelito you could ever think of. You know, find him on Instagram at Pastelito Papi with 2 eyes, right?
2 eyes.
On the Papi, not in the pastelito.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it's Pastelito Papi. And then just reach out to him. I mean, look, he's going to post where he's at. He's going to show you things that are going to make you hungry. And once listeners, one of you applies to be his part-time help, he's going to have more help. He can do the catering, the custom orders. You see, we're just giving back so that we can eat because we're fat asses. And that's what life is about. All right. But again, Gio, thank you so much for stopping by. I mean, I'm a little sad that you're not doing pop-ups because that means that I can't just show up and grab a couple on the go. Yeah. But you know what? I'm happy that means that you've got success, you know, and you're doing well. And thank you for swinging by.
No, thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.